This is Taiku number 22, the 22nd Taiku in Talmud Bavli. It is understood that Taiku is an unresolved question and it will be answered at the advent of the coming of Messiah with Elijah the prophet, who heralds the coming of Messiah. And all of our questions, I take it to mean that all of our questions will be answered. But in the case of the Talmud, all of the unanswered or unresolved questions in the Talmud will also be answered, and that is the idea of this project, to go through all of these unanswered questions, all these taikus, and make them, publish them, so that we can ask. We'll know the questions to ask when the Messiah comes. This 22nd Taiku was found in Tractate Shabbat, page 111b. The words of the Mishnah, I think, are Rabbi Meir Omer Kol Kesher, etc. Boi Rav Achad Boi Yachoy de Maracha Aniva El Rabbi Meir Mahu Tamad Rabbi Meir Mishum Diyochol Hatiro Biachas Miyadov V'hanami Yochol Hatiro Oy Dilma Taimad Rabbi Meir Mishum Deloy Mahadak V'hai Mihadak Taiku. We learned in the Mishnah that Rabbi Meir says a principle for tying any knot that one can untie with one of his hands. One is not liable for tying it. Rav Achad, the brother of Maracha, raised a dilemma. With regard to tying a bow, what is the ruling according to Rabbi Meir? Is it permitted to tie it tightly on Shabbat or not? The dilemma is the reason for the opinion of Rabbi Meir merely that because one can untie the knot with one of his hands, it is not considered a permanent knot? And this bow, too, he can untie it with one of his hands, and therefore he would not be liable for tying on Shabbat. Or perhaps the reason for the opinion of Rabbi Meir is because typically a knot that can be untied with one hand is not particularly tight. And this bow is tight. And therefore it is prohibited to tie it on Shabbat. The dilemma is not resolved. And the Gemara concludes, let it stand unresolved. Now, this is just my own thought, but I don't see how a bow can ever be tight. How can something be a tight bow? And if somebody can undo a knot with one of their hands, they can certainly. I think I would have consensus on this one, that anyone can undo the tightest of bows with one hand, because it's just a matter of pulling a string, unless it's I don't know. I don't see what he's talking about, but apparently, he makes a differentiation between a tight bow and a not tight bow. I don't quite understand this taiku. So sometimes I guess some of these taikus would be like my own taiku on why this is a taiku. So I think that will be asked. I think hopefully that should also be answered, right? If I have a question about this taiku, and I think nobody, if you've listened this far, if you would hold your attention this long, probably people wouldn't even care about that. But just for the sheer literal meaning of it, I don't see what the difference is between a tight bow and a loose bow in terms of untying it with one hand. And therefore, my taiku is, why was it a taiku for a sage of the Talmud? Why is this a taiku for a sage, which they say they were brilliant and they could raise the dead? Why was this a taiku for someone of that status? That's my own Taiku. So I guess it'll be Taiku 22A or something like that. But anyway, that aside, the main Taiku was, the takeaway is that, the Taiku was that, is there a difference between a tight or loose bow?